to be here. We just finished our Torah Minds class, which B'ezrat Hashem, we started to bring to Panama also as well. And we're very honored to be on board. You can hear me clearly, right? It's good?
Perfect, Rabbi, perfect.
Okay. So it's a tremendous honor to be a part of this and tremendous honor to connect to Panama. You said I don't know you. Baruch Hashem, we know you very well. We've been to Panama a number of times. And every time I go there, I feel like I'm coming home. It's such a weird feeling. Even faces, first of all, so many people we've gotten close to over the years. And so many people that just when you walk into the room, last time we were there was when the world was a normal place by the Siyum Hashas that we had on January 5th, I believe it was. And it was a wonderful event. And it was so great to see everyone and just seeing all the faces and seeing all the families that are really just like our families here in Brooklyn and in Deal. So it's a tremendous honor to be a part of it. I saw, by the way, David, I don't know if you told you wanted me to, but someone sent me that intro for this class, and the intro was wonderful. Besides, a couple of descriptions were a little too much, but other than that, we appreciate it very much, and we're very, very excited to be on board and to be able to speak to Panama at a time that's unbelievably challenging. And first of all, I just want to talk about just Say and what you're doing with Say and how many classes are happening, how much Torah is happening, especially now. Really, Hazaku Baruch, Hashem should give you continued strength. And B'ezrat Hashem, the growth in Torah that's happening now should continue B'ezrat Hashem very soon when all of this is away and we're back to normal. B'ezrat Hashem, all that we grew now will be an opportunity for more to grow B'ezrat Hashem in the future. Do you see me here in the studio with little toys in the background? It's all good. When I'm upstairs in Baruch Hashem, it's all good. So here we go. I think we're in an unbelievably unique time. And I'll tell you the truth, us here in America are losing our minds. I have no idea how you're doing it. Because in America, we were basically quarantined for half of March and April. And then May, people started getting out a little bit. By the end of May, everybody was out and about. And now the whole June, people have been out, masks and social distancing, but still people have been out. People have weddings and things like that. And to hear what's happening in Panama, that everything is closed and schools are closed and now the schools are going to be, and now even the grocery stores are going to be closed for a couple of weeks. The fact that anybody here has any sanity left is a complete miracle. The fact that you're willing to go on a Zoom class at this point is a complete miracle because in our community, many people are so tired and exhausted from Zoom. So I really appreciate that everyone is on board. And I want to talk about this, what I think is the biggest piece of this. There's obviously the medical and hopefully everyone is safe. But to me, the biggest piece, the biggest challenge that so many of us that we're facing during this time is what I want to focus on now. And B'ezrat Hashem, we will do so. And I'm going to tell you what I think that is. The number one thing that I think drives all of us crazy about this, even those of us in America who are out and about a little bit, but even more so in the situation that Panama is in right now. We're finishing this week, Parashah, we're finishing the book of Bamidbar. I want to look at a story or two within the book of Bamidbar and see how, and hopefully see from this story how a very, very important lesson. It's one of the more peculiar stories in the whole Bamidbar. David, I'm here if you need something to tell me. But one of the more peculiar stories in the whole Bamidbar, and that is the story of the snakes. The Jewish people in the desert, the Pasuk says, they were tired from the road and they were complaining. They said to Moshe Rabbeinu, it was a couple of weeks ago, Parashat Chukat, that we don't have any food and we don't have anything to drink. And we're disgusted from the man that we had. And they seem to be, and why'd you bring us into the desert to die? And they're going on and on. And the commentaries, or many ask, what exactly are they frustrated about? And what happens? They're complaining so much, Hashem sends snakes. And the snakes come and they bite many of the Jewish people, and many people are dying. They come to Moshe Rabbeinu and they say, Moshe, we sinned. Forgive us, we sinned. Hashem says, this is what you should do. Take a stick, and on top of the stick, put a snake. And when the Jewish people look up at the snake, they'll be healed. The Gemara says when they look up at the snake, they look up at Hashem. Then they're going to be healed. And sure enough, Moshe Rabbeinu makes a stick and puts on top of it, he puts a snake. And everyone who looks up at the snake gets healed because they're looking up at Hashem. I have a few questions here. What are they really complaining about? What are they frustrated about? Is it about, now you can see the toys in the background. Now you can see it well. Are they frustrated? And you can also see the Torah Mind screen. That's where we, like I said, what we were just doing. Are they frustrated? Are they frustrated by the fact that they don't have food, or by the road? But they do have food because they have demand. So are they frustrated about the food? Are they frustrated about the drink? What are they talking about? We're here to die. You have man. Why are you saying you're here to die? That's my first question. My second question is, why only now does Hashem bring snakes? Rashi says there's something to do with the snake of Sheshimei Bereshit. What does the snake of Sheshimei Bereshit have anything to do with this? And then finally, number three, the people already do teshuvah. They come to Moshe Rabbeinu and they say, we're going to do teshuvah. They do teshuvah. Why then is Hashem still need them to look up at the snake on the stick? Three questions. So I'm going to answer the question. Answer like this. There's something that all of us like very much. Most people like attention. Most people like money. Most people like pleasure. Most people like food. But there's something else that we crave, and we don't even realize how much we crave it. And many of us want it almost as much as all of the things I mentioned, maybe even more. And you'll see what I mean. You'll agree. We want it so badly. We're like so excited when we have it. You know what it is? We want to be the one that knows. We want to know. We love to be the person that knows. When you're sitting at a Shabbat table and someone at Shabbat table tells you, oh, you know, I don't know if you heard, I got a big story to tell you. And he says, what's the story? He says, you know, there's so-and-so, their daughter is dating, about to be engaged. What's the first thing you want to tell him? I knew already. Because you want to be the one who knows. Ladies and gentlemen, brother, did you hear what happened? Did you hear what happened? Whenever you hear those words, did you hear what happened? You're so curious. What happened? You want to know. I have nothing to tell you. Nothing happened, by the way. Nothing's happened for the past 4 months. Nothing happened. But when people say those words, did you hear what happened? Everybody right away wants to know. Because we're all like that. We crave knowing. We're so often, if someone tells you, you know, someone tells you, oh, you know, I'm expecting. Many women, you know what the first thing they're thinking? And you know, I'm in my 5th month. Why didn't you tell me my 4th month? I wanted to know. We love to be the one that knows. A few weeks ago, I was walking with someone to shul, and the person was telling me about a whole meeting that happened. And I was thinking to myself, wow, I'm a little hurt. I'm insulted that I wasn't. And then I said to myself, no, I'm not insulted that I wasn't there. I didn't care to be there. I just wanted to know it happened. Because we want to be the one that knows, which is precisely what we don't have right now. The number one thing we don't have right now is any knowledge of what the future is going to look like. When will there be a vaccine? When will it be safe? When will schools open? When will shuls be normal again? When will weddings be large? When will people be healthy? When will they find a vaccine? When will the government in the United States of America be normal? We have no idea the answer to any of these questions. We just don't know. And when you don't know, it's so uncertain and it's so uncomfortable because we don't know what's happening next. So if someone says, okay, you're going to be quarantined for a month and everyone's going to be good. Okay, you'll take it. But you don't know if it's going to be a week, a month, 6 months, 2 years. No one knows. And when we don't know, it's so unsettling. It's so nerve-wracking. What we're experiencing here in America is we don't even know where the president's going to be in 3 months from now. You know how unsettled the country feels right now? It's why there's riots and protests and chaos happening in this country. You know why? Because everyone is in this state of not knowing. People get so nervous when they don't know. The story, which is exactly how the Jewish people felt at this point in the Midbar. You want to know what they were feeling then? Let me give you a little context. They've been in the desert for 38 years at that point. For 40 years almost at that point. Aharon just died. Miriam just died. And Moshe Rabbeinu is soon going to die. They're looking at their world and they're saying to themselves, the katsa and the derech, what does it mean that they were tired from the road? They saw, where are we going? Where is this road taking us? We don't have Moshe. For the whole time, they had security. Moshe, Aaron, and Miriam. That's what brought them the food, the water, the clouds. That's what gave them safety and security. Now, where are we? Where are we? Where are we going? If Aaron is gone, and Miriam is gone, and Moshe is about to die, where are we going? The Pasuk tells us, the Rashi tells us they actually started traveling backwards, and they got so nervous from the uncertainty, because uncertainty makes us feel so powerless. I'll give you an example. A few weeks ago, I gave a class, as we've been doing a lot these days, with no one in the room. Now, usually, at least I have one person in the room who helps me with the technology or whatever. But this week, that time, 2 weeks ago, I was in Bet Yosef. I don't know if you know Bet Yosef. It's a shul where the rabbi of Endil, many of you know Joey Shama is very involved in that shul. Joey Shama, Joey Haber, very involved in that shul. So I'm in this shul. I decided I'm going to give my women's class one night, 8 o'clock, in the main shul. It's a gorgeous, beautiful, large shul. Empty, not a person in the room. So no problem, all good. I set up my phone, and you see here I have toys in the background. Over there, at least I had a hechal in the background, but I set up my phone on top of a stack of chairs, 2 loose side boxes, 1 tissue box, a tripod, and on top of that is my phone. I'm all good. I'm ready to go. No one knows what it's on. As long as they can see it clearly, it doesn't matter. I'm getting up. I'm giving a speech. It's broadcasted to a lot of people. I'm giving my whole speech. Class started at 8:15. It's ended at 8:45. This class 2 weeks ago. This class started at 8 o'clock. I'm sorry, at 8:15, the lights went out. They had an automatic switch, the light went out. So now I'm standing in the room by myself. What do I do? What do I do? I can't get up off the stage. The lights are off. The sun is going to set. What do I do? And I felt so powerless at that moment. Like I'm standing in front of people and I don't know what to do. That's how so many of us feel. What do we do? What do we do with our businesses? What do we do with our families? What do we do with school? You take our kids out of school for a week or a month, we can handle it. But how long could kids learn over Zoom? Where do we go with this? When you feel like you don't know, you feel powerless, which is such a weak feeling. It's a weak feeling because the world convinced us that knowledge is power. As Jews, we need to know that actually being dependent on knowledge is weakness. Being dependent on knowledge and thinking that you need knowledge is a weakness. It's not a strength. Let me explain to you how my best example of this. How did they sell us on a concept that doesn't make any sense? You know how the concept was called social media. How did they get us to buy into social media? I'll tell you what they did. They sold us on that idea. Knowledge is power. If you get social media, if you get Facebook or Instagram, that you're going to be able to see everybody else's life. And you're going to know you may not be invited to the wedding, but you could see it. And you may not go to the dinner with that person, but you could watch what they ate. And the fact that you will know, and you'll know when they have a baby, and you'll know when they're doing well, and you know when they're building a house, you will know. And everyone got lured in. Billions of people across this planet got pulled in because they all wanted to have that knowledge. They wanted to be the one that knows. Everybody wanted to be that person that knows. And then what happened? We got pulled in, and now we know too much. And now we see everybody's life, and we're drunk from all that we know. Because they convinced us that knowledge is power, and the reality is that dependency on knowledge and thinking that only if I know I'm good is a weakness. A person who's strong, and my best example and proof to this is that when Hashem created the world, He created 2 trees. One was called the tree of life, Etz HaChaim. Another tree was the opposite. What was the opposite tree called? It wasn't called Etz HaMavet. The opposite tree was called Etz Hadad. The need to know is what brought destruction to the world. How did the Nachash get Adam and Chava to sin? He said, if you eat from this tree, you're going to know. And the idea of knowing was so enticing and so exciting because just like us, we like money, we like pleasure, we like food, we like attention, we like kavod, but we like to know. We like to be the one that knows. And that need to know is what brought the world to its knees. So the Jewish people are here in the desert. And you know why they're complaining about the man and the water? They're complaining about everything. What they're in essence saying, we don't know what the future is going to hold. Are we going to have the man? Are we going to have the be'er? Are we going to have clouds? Are we going to have, where's this road taking us? We don't know. Hashem said, the fact that you think you need to know means you're making the mistake of the snakes. The mistake of the snake. And that's why Hashem sent snakes to say, don't make that mistake. Don't think you need to know. A strong Jew is a person who knows that I can be in a place of without knowledge, and I am okay. Because this is exactly where Hashem wants me to be. The fact that we don't know is not a mistake. The fact that in this United States of America, we don't know who the next president is going to be. The fact that you don't know if you're going to be able to go to a grocery store next week. The fact that you have no idea when school is going to be back to normal. When your business are going to be back to normal, the fact that you don't know is exactly where Hashem wants us to be. And we need to be comfortable not knowing. And we need to train ourselves. This is exactly where Hashem wants us to be. This is exactly where he wants us to be. This is where he wants us right now. In America, we're dealing with this Black Lives Matter. This is what he wants. The riots, this is what he wants. The fact that it's happening right now when we don't know who the next president of the country is going to be is what he wants. The fact that everyone's business is affected is what he wants. We're exactly where we need to be. I met someone the other day, prays with us every morning at Beit Yosef in the shul. And he is in the industry that's probably the worst industry to be in right now. 4 months ago, he was unbelievably successful. He's a travel agent. He was a global travel agent. This man is a person who's flown princes of Dubai around the world. He's one of the top travel agents in the whole world. And he's part of the Syrian community here in Brooklyn and in Deal. And we're very close. And one day at the Shahadi, I see him. So I went over, I said, Jack, I said, well, what's the story? What's your plan? He says, Rabbi, I am doing my complete ishtadlut. We're coming up with new ideas and so on. What's going to happen? What's going to work? I have no idea. But every night I go to sleep, rest assured, I am doing my hishtadlut. I don't need to know what the results is going to be. And the man walked down. And I said to myself, I am jealous of this person. A person who could settle himself in and make himself comfortable not knowing. There's a famous pasuk, Sifat lo yadati eshma. My lips, my mouth, lo yadati eshma. I don't know. Some say, what does Sifat mean? Shin Pei Tav stands for the year. Tav Shin Pei. Lo yadati eshma. All we're going to hear all year is lo yadati. And this year has been a whole bunch of unknown. And we don't know what the future is going to hold. But we need to settle into it. And I want to tell you how. And I'll give you a few thoughts, tell you how, and B'ezrat Hashem, we'll conclude in about 5 minutes. The number one thing we need to do. And again, our situation right now might be a little better than Panama, but we're in the same boat here. The number one thing we need to do is we need to stop complaining. Because when we get in a world of complaining, when the wife's complaining, the husband's complaining, the kids complaining, I can't believe it, I don't believe it, it's terrible. The more, when we start to complain, we start to get in this toxic universe. And you know what my proof is? The two most famous sins in the entire desert. Number one is the Chet HaEgel. Number two is the Meragelim. Now, I know what the Jews did wrong with the Chet HaEgel. They worshipped an idol. Obviously, they deserved the punishment that whatever they got. They worshipped an idol. But what did they do wrong by the Meragelim? The 10 spies came back and spoke Lashon Hara. What did the people do wrong? Why did they deserve to be in the desert 40 years? What did they do wrong? You know what the answer is? One thing. They complained. And complaining is toxic. Complaining is way worse than it looks. And I'm not speaking to you, ladies and gentlemen. I'm speaking to me. Because I complain also. I was just reading the parashah that week, Parashat Shalach. I said, 1 second. What did they really do? They just complained. All they did was nag. They complained. What are we going to be? We're going to die. Da-da. It's terrible. It's the world. The worst. That's all they did. And Hashem's consequence is catastrophic. 40 years in the desert. Everyone that left Egypt has to die. Why? Because complaining means we don't believe we are exactly where we need to be. Complaining means we don't acknowledge that Hashem wants us right here, right now. So if we want to make our life what it needs to be, we're not changing anything. Let's change our attitude. Let's start talking in our house and say, you know what, guys, we know it's tough. We know financially it's tough. I know school's horrible. Kids, I know you hate Zoom. I know it. I know business is nerve-wracking. Don't get me wrong. And maybe a little bit of complaining is normal. But we're at the same time, we're not going to let our house become a complaining zone. We're going to realize this is what Hashem wants us to be. And we're going to figure out what Hashem wants us to do right now. We don't know, and we're comfortable not knowing. Again, you're talking to someone here. I'm speaking here. There's no one who likes to know more than me. And I'm the type of person, I don't know if any of you know what I mean. I'm the type of person, if it was up to me, I would schedule the next 10 years of my life. I would schedule the next 10 years from now. For the next 10 years, I'd know exactly when my kid's getting married, exactly when everything for the next 10 years. I like that. My wife is the opposite. My wife doesn't want to schedule. When me and my wife, if we ever go away on a vacation, I want every hour planned. She's like, we'll get there. We'll figure it out. I'm like, what? I need everything planned. So this whole not knowing is so difficult for me because I want to know what in America, we start the school year in a month and a half from now. I want to know what it's going to look like. I'm involved in a school. I'm a dean in a school. What's the school going to look like? I don't know. What's school going to look like? What are the, I can't believe it. Hashem wants me right here. Hashem wants it exactly the way it is. Let me give you, because wherever you are in your life, there's a ladder to heaven. Wherever you are, there's a ladder to heaven. And you know my proof is to that? When did Yaakov Avinu see a vision of him, a ladder going to Shamayim? When did he see it? When he was running away from his father's house, when he was in his 80s and still had no children, wasn't married, still had no children, still had no married, wasn't married, no kids, didn't have $1 in his pocket, and he was literally homeless. Homeless. He couldn't go home because he was running away from his brother. He was homeless. So homeless that he had to sleep on a rock. He laid down, slept on a rock. He wasn't the Yaakov Avinu the way you know him, the father of 12 tribes of Am Yisrael. As far as he knew where he was in his life at that point, he was a fugitive, running away from his brother who was trying to kill him, wanted to get some sleep. So he lay down on a rock in middle of the night, in the middle of what seemed like no place. And it's there that Hashem sent him an image of a ladder to heaven. Because wherever you are, there's a ladder to heaven. Right here, right where we are on July 14th in Panama, with the situation getting scarier, this is where we're supposed to be. When we complain and we hear other people complain and we just talk about the complaining and we WhatsApp our complaints and we Instagram our complaints and we comment our complaints and we just complain and complain and complain, we're creating this toxic environment. Move it out. Stop the complaints. Just as Hashem told Moshe Rabbeinu, just look up and figure out how there's a ladder to heaven right here. Right here without knowing. How are we in some way connected to Borei Olam? Right here. The Hazon Ish used to say, you're going to go through your life, it's going to be what it's going to be either way. You can either cry or laugh. That's up to you. And he would say that it really depends on just what kind of glasses you put on. Let's put on the glasses that say, this right here is where we need to be. Exactly where we need to be. Stop the complaining. You're not a genius because you could come up with another complaint and another thing that's wrong. We know all the complaints. We know everything that's wrong. It's no chidush that you're giving us. But you need to realize that right here is where you need to be. You know, some of the commentaries saying, I'm going to give one last thought and then I'm going to give one story and I'll be done. The commentaries say, you know why the Meragelim said we shouldn't go into Israel? because they went to Israel and they saw what was going on, fortified cities and crops and plowing. And they said, one second, the Jewish people are in the desert. They have food coming from heaven. They have water coming from a rock. They're protected by clouds. They never need to change their clothing. They're learning Torah from Moshe Rabbeinu. Why would we want to go into Israel, where we have to harvest and plow and work and toil and fight? Why would we want to go to Israel? Spiritually, it's better here. And Hashem said to the Meraglim, you're going to tell me where you're going to spiritually grow? Wherever you are, there's a ladder to heaven. And so Hashem told Moshe Rabbeinu, the Jewish people, when they got bitten by the snakes, they said they sinned. I want them to remember this forever. So put an image on top of a stick, put a snake on top of a stick, and let them look up. And look up to me and know that they don't need Moshe, they don't need Aharon, they don't need Miriam, they don't need a rock, they don't need man, they don't need clouds, they don't need anything. All they need is me. And if they have me, that's all they need to know. And the beauty of that story is that after the story of the snakes, the Jewish people never complained in the desert again, because they learned the lesson that I need to be comfortable not knowing. And then Pasuk says the next place that they camped in, Vayachanu be'ovot. They camped in a place called Ovot. What does Ovot mean? Aleph, Bet, Taf. I think it comes from the word Avot, our forefathers. They camped in the place, they achieved the level of our Avot, of our forefathers. What does Hashem say about the forefathers? They didn't know what the future held. They just trusted me. Hashem told Moshe Rabbeinu, Shmi Adonai lo nodati lahem. They don't know all my mercy. They just trust me. The Jewish people achieved that level. Ladies and gentlemen, we're in a time in our life where it's an unbelievable opportunity, because never in our life was life more unknown than it is now, more uncertain. Never did we feel more powerless than we feel right now. We need to realize that right here in the unknown, we need to look up to Borei Olam and say, we're going to get our strength from you. Can I tell one more story? Or is it getting late in Panama? One more story. I'm just going to tell you a story. And then we're done. Really, I'm done. I love this story because I know this man very, 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 very well. Very well. I'm close to him. I mentioned to you Joey Shammai. He knows him well too. Very well. This man was very well off. Had a big business. Him and his brother and his family had a very big business. Very well off for many years. And then the business had to close. The economy was changing. 7-8 years ago, he had to work for somebody else. And his income became much, much tighter. Much tighter. So he was struggling. And as this is happening, he's praying in front of me every single day in Brooklyn. And I watch him pray, and his kavanah got stronger, and he was growing more, and his yirat shamayim was more, and going to more classes, learning Torah. His family was growing. It was beautiful, beautiful to watch. His amidah got longer. But it's so clear that Hashem was not answering him, because every time he's praying, his income got worse, and he would tell me stories. My daughter's getting married. I don't even know how I'm going to get to the Swaney. I'm not going to get to the wedding. I'm $40,000 short. I didn't know. I didn't know how he was breathing. He was so tight. 4 months ago, he told me this story. 4 months ago, the day after Purim, and where he was working, they gave him a check because of some deal that he was involved in. After a lot of negotiation, his company gave him a check for $20,000. So he was excited. He came home with that check, and his wife said to him, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to pay our tzedakah debts, all of the charity that we owe. He said that Saturday night, it was on a Friday after Purim. Saturday night, he was in his house, and he says, we're not going to do it on the internet. We're going to pay it with checks, with our hands. We want to do the mitzvah well. They wrote out, again, he got a $20,000 check. He wrote out $5,000 worth of tzedakah. He paid 2-3 months worth of mortgage and $5,000 worth of tzedakah. And he wrote check after check. He says, I was so excited. We bought the envelope, the stamps. We licked the envelopes. We were so excited. He says, the next day I went with my hands. I took all these envelopes. I went to the mailbox. I put them in the mailbox on Sunday afternoon. He says, Monday, I get to the office, and that's when the world started falling apart in America. He says, the office decided they're furloughing a lot of people, and everyone else, they're cutting by 25%. So now I come home, business is shut, and my income is cut by 25%. He says, Rabbi, I'm telling you the truth. Not for a second did me or my wife regret giving $5,000 away to tzedakah. Not for 1 minute. We said Hashem gave us that zechut. Hashem's going to take care of us. We don't know. He says a little while after that, a friend of his had he had a lead to some business, something to do with Corona, whatever. His friend had a lead. They tried to do it. It didn't really work out. He couldn't turn it into customers. He couldn't turn it into money. It was what it was. A few weeks later, his friend calls him up. He says, you remember that lead that you gave me, that account? I was able to put the two together, and you're getting a check tomorrow. The next day, he got a check in the mail for $200,000. $200,000. Lo yadati yeshma. Hashem, I'm going to get comfortable not knowing. I'm going to get comfortable trusting you. I'm going to get comfortable stopping the complaining because you're not a genius just because you could come up with a complaint. Instead, I am going to look up because the word lama, why did the past happen? Why are we dealing with this? Is 75. Gematria is 75. Ma'iyeh, what the future is going to hold. This is from Rabbi Biederman in Israel. Ma'iyeh, what's the future going to hold, is also 75. You know what else is 75? Bitachon, trusting in Hashem. Right now, more than ever, is an opportunity. You know, sometimes you have business opportunities. Sometimes you have opportunity to buy a house. Sometimes you have opportunity to date a wife and get married. Sometimes you have opportunity to expand your business. Right now is our opportunity to expand our bitachon. Our opportunity is to say, Hashem, I know you put us right here. You put us in a world where we don't know. We don't need the snakes to remind us. What we need to do is look up to you. Because no matter where we are, no matter where you put us, there's a ladder to heaven. Thank you very much. And thank you very much for joining. And it was really an honor to speak to all of my friends, so many people that I love in Panama. Thank you and good night.
Thank you, Rabbi. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Beautiful inspiration as always. Thank you so much for being with us. And from the bottom of our hearts, I hope we see each other again in person.
Bezrat Hashem, I cannot wait to come back.
Soon. I really want to go to Brooklyn and see all you guys. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you.
Have a great night.